We're here with On3's Andy Staples, and I just got to ask you, who gets the blame for the Nico era ending in Knoxville? Is it Coach Heupel? Is it Nico? Is it the dad? Who you blaming?
It's Team Nico. It's the whole shebang. It's the dad and friend advisors who are not good at negotiating, and it's Nico who played the way he played last year. Because here's the thing. Tennessee would not have had a problem with Nico asking for more money if Tennessee thought Nico was worth more money. Clearly, they did not.
Yeah. And this is kind of something that, behind the scenes, I mean, we heard brewing going into the first transfer portal. Are you surprised that it took for spring ball to be basically completed for this thing to finally blow the top off of it?
Well, it's because he's being advised by people who don't know what they're doing. And that's what happened. Like if Drew Rosenhaus or WME or CAA is representing Nico Iamaleava, this gets handled quietly in December. They leverage Miami or somebody else who's shopping for a quarterback, and they get a raise at Tennessee. But they didn't handle that right. They asked for an astronomical amount in December. Tennessee said no. And instead of leveraging in December when there were more shoppers in the marketplace and you could go to another SEC school, they were like, oh, okay. And then they just waited till the spring portal where there aren't as many shoppers, where you can't go to another SEC school. And all of a sudden, they don't have a whole lot of leverage. I think they thought that, and this is kind of part of it when your dad is your agent as opposed to a Drew Rosenhaus type. Like Drew Rosenhaus isn't sentimental about this. He's got a lot of clients. He's going to take a pretty realistic view of how good you are. Daddy's going to think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Sure.
Well, Dad's going to think you're Joe Montana, Dan Marino, and Peyton Manning rolled into one. And that's probably what they thought. And they thought Tennessee would think that too. And Tennessee's looking at it more realistically like, okay, what's our record with him and what's our record without him? What's the worst case scenario with? Worst case scenario without? This ain't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can kind of get the sense that the family's representing him, because when you negotiate, it can be tough, sitting at the negotiation table.
It's emotional.
Hey, he didn't play the greatest at SEC play. So it's emotional, like you said. And when you have the father representing you, those emotions can get in the way of decision making. That being said, do you think that this is going to change college football?
No, because this has happened in college football. It's just, these guys did it so stupidly that we found out about it. But this happens over and over every December and every April now. There are guys that go to their schools and say, I want this. And the school's like, okay, we don't think you're worth it. Go somewhere else. That's not abnormal. That is the market doing what the market does. And so now what I think is going to happen is, and things have changed. Like Nico was working off his original deal.
Correct.
And so there's a couple pieces to that. One, Tennessee thought that they were paying him fairly. He was scheduled to make like $2.4 million for 2025, which probably is fair, but is less than what some of the quarterbacks are making now. And they did their deals more recently. But also, because this is such an old deal, it doesn't have any clawback language in it, which if there had been, I don't know that he leaves. Because now if you sign a deal, you're probably dealing with some sort of language that says, whatever we paid you up front, you owe us some of that back because you didn't complete the term of the deal. And they can't keep you from going to play at another school, but they can certainly say you owe us this money, and a court will agree with them.
Yeah.
But Nico's deal didn't have that.
Jaden Rashada and his father are going to the next step in the lawsuit is tomorrow. I believe discovery starts tomorrow in Jaden Rashada's lawsuit against Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. Do you see some similarities in what happened at UF as what's happening at Tennessee?
That case is a little bit different because that was a deal where someone inflated the value of a contract past the point the person who was underwriting the contract was willing to pay. And when the person underwriting the contract found out how much they were on the hook for, they're like, I'm not paying it. And so that's a completely different case. And the fact that it's going to discovery leads me to believe that it might move toward a settlement at some point soon, because I don't think anybody involved really wants some of that stuff to come out. I would love it, personally. I'd love to read it. It'd be very juicy. But I think if you are Billy Napier, if you're Hugh Hathcock, the Florida booster involved there, I don't think you want any of that stuff coming out.
Did Jaden Rashada, though, have a big-time agent at the time, or was it mostly his family?
No, weirdly, the same lawyer, Michael Caspino, that helped Nico get his deal at Tennessee was initially helping Rashada. Now, that's not who helped Rashada get that deal with Florida, but it is who negotiated the deal with Miami with Rashada. So there is some similar DNA to these two cases. And the other thing that's very similar about it is you've got a dad that's dragging the kid around. And I think if the choices were left up to the players in this situation, they'd be a lot less reviled and they'd probably have happier careers.
So now here we are post breakup. I mean, it's still fresh. Where do you think Tennessee goes? Where do you think Nico goes from here?
Well, Nico doesn't have as many options as people think. And look, all it takes is two. All you have to do is get one school bidding against another school and you can make some money. But I don't know that we're talking about schools on the level of Tennessee. You know, the USC got thrown out there. I don't know that USC's interested. UCLA, maybe. But they brought in Joey Aguiar from Appalachian State and feel pretty good about him. So it really is going to come down to who is willing to be a buyer in this market. And remember, he cannot go anywhere in the SEC because you have to declare you're going to transfer by February 1st if you want to play immediately going SEC to SEC. So it really limits where he can go. Now, as far as Tennessee goes, I know they've put some feelers out already. I know you're not supposed to do that, but they've done that anyway. And I'll be curious to see if we get I'm entering the transfer portal on a do not contact tag on Wednesday, because I think if we see that, there's a good chance that person's moving to Knoxville. But I don't know, because we've heard about a quarterback or two getting raises suddenly in the last few days. So I think you might see a little bit of that going on. But also, it could be a case of Josh Heupel looking at Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre and saying, you know what, I think I'm good with what we got. And then they just maybe go into the portal for some depth.
Yeah. I mean, they love those guys coming out of high school. So, hey, now you're there. You got to put up or shut up. So we'll see what happens. Are you kind of hit on it with Tennessee. You said Tennessee's kind of putting out some feelers. Well, we also know that players just don't put themselves in the portal and then see what their options are. So Are you a little surprised that that this thing ended the way that it did, and knowing that Nico doesn't, he can't transfer within the SEC, so that takes out a lot of leverage, a lot of money. Are you a little bit surprised that this is the move that they made, knowing that, the feelers are out there and there's just not a lot coming back? Inside Scoop listeners, I got to tell you about a company that makes this show possible. It's Rhoback Activewear. The only way to describe Rhoback is best fit, best feel. And for those who are not familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their new licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs, clean hoodie, and quarter zip designs from some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable. They have an elastic waistband and a great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for everyday movement. Rhoback also has been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. So use code JOSH on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off all new custom orders through the end of this week. Let's spell it out for you. RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with promo code JOSH.
I'm not surprised, because these guys aren't professionals. They don't know what they're doing. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they had a deal set up since last week, and on Wednesday he goes in with a do not contact tag, and we find out the next day that he's been going somewhere all along. But given how bad these guys are at PR, we probably would have found out about that by now. So I don't know if that's the case. And if they are just going in saying, all right, he's available, that's not a good strategy right now.
All right. Well, it has been a crazy 72 hours since Pete Nakos on threes Pete Nakos broke the big news that Nico was entering negotiations. Those fell apart. He is now not part of the program. And Andy, the portal opens on Wednesday. Do you think this is any indication that it could be a wild portal window?
I don't think it's going to be that wild. I think it's going to be similar to last year, but there might be some flashes. Last year it was a few defensive tackles that realized, oh, wow, we can get a big payday if we leverage these really desperate schools against each other. But that's different. You always are willing to take another good defensive tackle. If you're good on your quarterback situation, you're not going to overreach and pay a lot of money to get a guy. So I don't think there would be as many buyers. I do think if Tennessee decides they want to go get somebody, there will be domino effects from that. Right. If they decide they want to take somebody else's starter, then you will see a domino effect. But that's the one that I think would really make it move.
All right. Well, Andy, thanks for talking over these major developments that went down over the weekend. The portal opens on Wednesday. Get some rest. It's going to be wild.
Thanks, Josh.